Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jankoti podcast, where we celebrate inspiring leaders, founders, and the visionary leaders. Especially today, we are going to join on the episode on Lead with a Spine, is the unfiltered truth about the people management. I'm Sunita, and I'm delighted to have a guest, Preeti Singh. She's an inspired leader whose journey blends passion and resilience. Today, she speaks without apology on leading with the courage, integrity, humility, and resilience in decision making. Preeti Singh is a senior corporate leader and a learning strategist with over 27 years of experience across financial services, consulting, and organizational leadership. She has impacted over 1,000 individuals across the organization through investors, education, and financial literacy initiatives. She's a director talent development and capability building at Meshlinks Consulting. She's a board member of Gold and the Diamond Limited, and she's a certified NLP master practitioner. She's a council member of WICCI International Education and Mobility Council. In today's conversation, Preeti brings something rare to the table, not theory, not a framework, but it's a lived experience. She has worked at every level of the corporate ladder, right from ground teams to the senior leadership. She has seen what separates a leader who builds people from one who manages them. Thank you so much, Preeti, for joining us today. It's wonderful to have you on the show.
Thank you, Sunita. It's a pleasure. So, I will start my session with one important question. Who has been a great leader, for you? Somebody who values the work that you do, somebody who thinks that you matter, your work matters, and then who is a worst boss you must have encountered? So, when I say both these things, you hardly take any few seconds to, have those names in your mind. There is a big gap between these two, and because of this, it decides, whether your teams working under you are thriving or whether they are just suffering and they're struggling to complete their work. So I'm here today to tell more about the gaps which I have encountered upfront and up close in my 27 years of corporate life, Sunita.
It's great. Yeah. So, as we dive into our conversation, I would love to explore a theme that shapes the very core leadership, right? Why true leaders must be mentored and not dictators, and what that difference looks like in practice.
So, Sunita, dictator kind of a leader will tell you this is a work that you have to do, and he will expect, you have to do it with compliance, like there are no second thoughts. And then there is another type of leader who will actually sit with you, explain to you, and lead the way how it has to be done. And he will also trust you that you will complete it, without doing micromanagement. A good leader, a good mentor, in case we do a mistake, and it has happened with me also, he will sit and he will, say, what have I learned from this mistake? Rather than, how could you allow this to happen? This shift in question changes everything, that comfort level when you get with mentors, because they are actually grooming you to become who you are a few years down the line, Sunita.
Totally agree. So that truly resonates, in terms of how the mentors will really guide and bring the potentiality, while they are growing the leaders. And this gives a clear message in terms of how empowerment will actually, lead over the control by giving that safe environment to or safe space in terms of sharing their ideas and then, challenges what they might be forcing or actually seeing in their current environment so that innovation fosters. Truly agree. Yeah. The So while we are talking about more on the mentorship journey and the the dictatorship leadership style, the what exactly is the truth about the leave culture and the late sitting truly plays an important role, right? And why praising both is a failure of the leadership.
Yeah. So let me start with the leave culture. Basically, if an employee is taking leave, it is not a favor that the organization or the employer or your boss is doing to you. It is my earned leave. You also know when we work in a company, only after we complete certain duration that we get some earned leave. And leaves are utilized, when it is needed. So there are tough times, when the boss or the senior leaders they ask the reason for the leave. That is quite disrespectful, I feel, because they are in fact trying to ask and question that is as if I'm not able to manage my own personal life and work life. And to take it one step ahead, for example, there were cases when someone's parent was critically ill, or someone's 10-year-old child had fractured his leg, and the supervisor just told them, why don't you hire a nanny, or why don't you hire a caretaker and please focus on your job. I'm like, how insensitive can that senior be? And who gives them the authority to decide what the employees' family matters and how they have to take care of that? How insensitive. How can you just look at that parent who is taking care of a sick child and decide that that activity can be outsourced? You know, there are times when in family, during these, critical moments, it is not possible to delegate because the sick parent may want their child in front of them, or a sick, child may want the parent to be there just to hold their hand. You cannot just delegate this to anyone. So I think when a supervisor questions or asks about the reasons, that is not the sign of a good leader. A good leader, should just ask whether the work can be managed. And if it is yes, the conversation should be done. You don't need to explain why you are taking leave, right? And when this happens, when a good leader just tells these four words, we have your back, you just take care of your family and come back when you're comfortable. Sunita, you won't believe this much will play a more powerful role
Yeah.
in commitment towards the organization, towards the senior, more than any incentive scheme can ever give you. Okay, that loyalty, that commitment, that thing, okay, he took care of me when I needed and allowed me to take care of my family. That gratitude will always be there, and that employee will surpass everything. They will do everything in their power to do all the work projects for you in a very, very decent way. I can say that.
Yeah, so so
Otherwise.
true. That's right. Yeah, so rightly said.
And
Yeah.
yes, and let me come to the second point, which is about, typically I have seen up close, leaders praising late sitting as if it is, something to be proud of. Many times, late sitting doesn't happen because of employees' mismanagement. It is many times the leaders, zero time management that they have. This is not theoretical. This is real life examples that I have seen up close where senior leaders they just spend the day during the working hours. They are just focusing on their personal lives, doing hours and hours of calls, which is nothing related to work, right? And then around 5:30 something will shift. Suddenly they realize, oh, I'm at work. Suddenly the activities will, I don't know from where they decide that, these five activities have to be distributed. You will suddenly get some important task to be done in your email, and the deadline will be 9 a.m. tomorrow. Imagine getting a task at 5 p.m. in the evening for a deadline of 9 a.m. tomorrow. What kind of time management are you doing? And then there is this team sitting full day waiting for permissions, approvals, some decisions, which they waited full day for the leader to give. And to take it one step further, Sunita, the senior, he will give the task, and then there is a chauffeur driven car, air conditioned, waiting for him to take him home. And then this guy who has been given the extra work, he will sit another 2 hours to complete the task. And then he'll be at the bus stop, just thinking what different modes of transport will make him reach home faster, whether metro, auto, train. He's tired, he's hungry, and still at the back of the mind he's got this only thing, I hope I'll be able to go home on time tomorrow and they will not judge me. That is the mentality, with juniors. When you have seniors like this who are little not okay with the time management, they need to learn from some good people who do their work on time. They deliver quality work and then they go back to family and give time to them also. So they have actually mastered the art of doing the work properly. I think some leaders need to look up to these employees and learn something from them, Sunita.
Totally agree. Leaders, as a leaders, we have to be a model for these behaviors in terms of normalizing and balancing, which is very important. Either it can be a time management or it can be in terms of, understanding the root causes of the challenges what employees might be facing so that they can genuinely support in with the policies or with respect to different ways what they can do, because this clearly builds that bonding between the employee and the organization, and it if in case if in case these behaviors are like continued, and then if the rewards related to this is continued, the inefficiency might be seen, or a lot of productivity loss can be seen, and straightforward it can be a kind of a signal of the broken system as well, like in terms of where we were not able to identify the actual root causes of redesigning the work, or it can be any kind of implications of the improper planning or resource gaps, whatever it is. So it is very important as a leader to normalize balancing in the workplace and build that behavior, so that it helps the very important assets of an organization, people, to balance their work, right?
Right.
And what I normally believe is, as the leaders themselves must take leave and then rest sometimes, so that they are showing that rest is part of the performance. It's not the other way again. So it's very important for the leaders to demonstrate those behaviors as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true. Coming back to the another important point, what I was actually thinking is, while we are thinking about the work-life balance and the leave cultures and all, by putting a gun on someone's shoulder really means what? And then, why it is coercive or not delegation? Because this really popped up when we were talking about the time management, or just realizing something around 5 o'clock to see what can be closed by tomorrow for stuff.
Yeah, so Sunita, putting gun on someone's shoulder exactly means telling someone else to do your dirty job. So there is something, which you want to communicate to the team, which is unpleasant. You can't communicate, but you are the deciding factor for that. So you are, telling someone else to do that dirty job of telling it. I believe good leader, they should, whatever decisions they make, they should have the courage to come and tell on their own. They shouldn't hide behind the backs of juniors and, play such dirty games. I have also not only seen upfront, I have also heard senior telling, okay, if you want to, get something done from the other department, tell that other person to do, you don't follow up. So that, it doesn't feel like as if you are chasing, you are making someone else chase. So that was very, very not correct for me. So if I have some work with another department, it is my duty. Or if I want to delegate it to someone, I will not. I will see to it that he also takes care and follows up with a similar kind of a designation. I cannot tell my junior to go and chase some senior of another department, which I don't have the courage to chase. So that is very wrong. So this is the worst thing if you ever come across in an organization, that if you want to tell something bad, you are putting some other person in front. So yeah, that is what is called, loading the gun and putting it on shoulder of your juniors so that you can escape the criticism or whatever comes back after that gun is actually shot by that junior.
Yeah, that's true. So I agree. Delegation is about empowerment, but again, it has to be done a little bit on hand holding and then, empowering with all the information and the support which is required for them to, tackle that or complete that task without, being gun on their shoulders again. And then always I would say the leaders actually should demonstrate in terms of, taking that courage to support and grow leaders along with the power. So that will really helps because it clearly shows how these behaviors uh, will help to build the capacities, right? Otherwise, it will be in terms of corroding the trust altogether. So once the trust is broken, it's like the complete ecosystem is like broken, I would say.
Yeah. So, Sunita, I have also had great seniors. So, being in organization for number of years, like two, almost more than 2 decades, you have seen ups and downs of the organization as well. But we have seen those leaders coming up front and telling the full, all the employees together in maybe in a hall or a canteen, what is the situation that the company is into. That
Yeah.
is true leadership, I feel, telling them what we are going through so that the juniors also understand what is happening rather than just discussing with a few leaders and not passing on that important information what the company is going through. So yeah, I've been privileged to be working with great leaders as well.
That's right. That's the very valid point, what you have really spotted, right? So, having this clear, transparent communication flowing down from the top to all the levels is very, very important to enable that trust. Not only trust in terms of it can be any change what we are leading, or it can be any transformation journey what we are leading, or it can be any small issue which is impacting right now. The communication should be as transparent as much, and then it should actually flow in the same way to all the levels to enable that
Right.
trust factor, which plays a very important role. And while we are talking about the very important cultural aspects and the behavior aspects of the leadership and the different dynamics of it, how the COVID revealed the true character of a leader across the organizations.
So Sunita, COVID, whatever it happened, it just stripped all the leaders of their character, like bare to the minimum. So there have been good leaders, but also I have seen, more senior leaders sitting at the comfort of their homes. Uh, while the junior, see, I understand there are some essential activities which, as an organization we have to perform. And for that, juniors were there to go and perform in the branches which they have. But what is the audacity of you sitting in the comfort of your home and sending them, mails regarding targets not achieved, collections not happened, taking accountability calls not for a few minutes, for hours, and just eating their brain out, okay, why you're not achieving? Why couldn't they understand? I fail till today. I fail to understand what would have happened if at least some comfort level would have been given to at least the front warriors who are going stepping out of their home. Their family is worried, but still, because it is a job, they work in a branch, they are going and working. At least give them that comfort, that peace of mind. What is the point in targeting them, chasing them, threatening them, okay, they will get transferred if targets are not achieved? That is a typically not sign of a good leader, I can say. That is poor people culture, and leaders need to learn. if you want them to come to the front office, I have seen big leaders who also come in the front and they lead the team. They show, okay, if okay they are also coming, they are also worried about their health, but still they are also stepping out and coming. So we, as leader, we have to show that we can do, so the juniors will follow. It doesn't happen that you're sitting somewhere and then troubling the juniors. So that was a very difficult phase for everyone. We lost few good friends during the time, but more than that, the torture of toxic bosses is something which no one will forget and no one will forgive.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the time where, the important support factor is very essential to understand them supporting in all the aspects, not just in terms of accomplishing the work, but also the challenge what they might be facing when they have to be in that situation at work, right? The first thing is like we should appreciate them for being there. And then second thing is
Right.
like if in case they face any challenge, it is important to understand the root cause. So it is important to understand why, but at the same time, the why factor should lead towards learning, but not pointing out or but not having this blame game in terms of calling out any implications, if not what. So instead of that, it should be like we together, or everyone as a team, how we can resolve the issue should be the focus during that time. Otherwise, it will be very, very difficult to manage the situation. Already, people are in a chaos situation in terms of managing the environment situation, not just on the work factor, right? So it plays a very, very important role to understand the factor and support them. And what you rightly said is like, as a leader, sometimes we have to lead as an example. So at times it is very important, if not all the time, at times we have to be there as a leader to understand the practical challenges what
Absolutely.
resource or associate might be facing over there, right? So everyone may not be able to talk what they're actually facing it. And as a leader, if you're there, you'll understand it in terms of what it is altogether, and then you can support it on the ground. That's very important.
True.
Yeah. So while we're talking about the very important pandemic issue, what we've seen, right? So another important, very prominent issue, what we are seeing, during the recession times is the layoff, right? Why layoff hurt far more than the what it is claimed actually. So if you see on an average, we see like 10 to 15 percentage of the claim has been there, but I feel like it's more than that, right? And what
Yeah.
would be the bolder alternatives instead of layoffs or organization can be planned?
Yeah. So, Sunita, when leaders decide that 10 to 15% of people have to be let go, so it is not something you're just knocking off from your spreadsheet, right? These are 10% real families which you're hurting, right? It is someone's child's school fees, someone's old parents' medical bills, you know, a single person earning, you're just taking away that income from him. How will they survive? So it is not just 10-15% of employees, it is 10-15% of families that you're just letting go for, cutting the cost. Here I want any leader or any board member who's hearing to this conversation, I want them to just pause and reflect. Is this the only lever to cut the cost? If you want to cut 10-15% cost, why don't you reduce the salary 15% across everyone? Why doesn't the management take a 15% cut? Why doesn't the board members take 15% cut at all levels? Let it be a shared sacrifice, because everyone can survive on a 85% income, but they cannot survive on a zero income. They need to live with their dignity, their income. So I fail to understand, because the people who are the decision makers, it doesn't affect them because they are not the people who are going. They are deciding the fate of the juniors or any layer that is being let go. So that is not correct. If there are times you need to cut cost, let everyone have a shared, kind of a pain, or shared kind of a contribution, so that all survive, all 100 families survive, right?
So well said. Yeah, totally agree. So that should be a shared responsibility in terms of, while we are taking the profits together. So it's also important to share that loss at times, right? And when we talk about the layoff, it is not just about the headcount reduction. Uh, there is a bigger loss to the organization, in fact, in terms of, losing that trust, or it can be in terms of um, not having that resilience in the organization to bring more value addition to the organization in the long run. So they may be losing the track on the innovation, which is a very important, essential aspect of an organization to grow over the time or scale up. So all these are the very important laws an organization might be facing along with the headcount. So what you said is really
Absolutely.
right. They have to have a bold alternative to manage the situations. Yeah.
Absolutely. The
Um,
next lot of people may be, traumatized. Okay, what if the next list will have their names? So you're not only hurting the 15% or 10% you're letting go, the next in line also is traumatized. How will they
Exactly.
contribute effectively, with
Yeah,
that mindset?
totally agree. Yeah. And if you talk in terms of the expenses, right, the expenses hypocrisy that quietly destroy the team morals every single day. So, what's your perspective on it? Or
Yeah, Sunila, it happens across all industries, all corporates. I have seen that. You know, juniors, small claim, conveyance claims of few hundred rupees getting rejected, not giving any reason. Okay. While I have seen seniors, time and again traveling to their home city, business class, all expenses booked to the company under the disguise of work, business meeting, review meetings, right? But at the back end, it is a weekend home. They think they don't know, but they should understand everyone is watching them, right? So and when they reject small claims of juniors, uh, they may not be able to say, but obviously it hurts. It's like, you are working, you are doing genuine work, you're going to a different location, and then you're asking for a cab fare. Okay. And that is not getting passed. And seniors, at the cost of, this is additional expense, not approved. And what about the expenses which seniors are claiming from the company? They should, actually make a list of all the expenses throughout the years that they have taken, which they are not entitled to, and they should, not feel good about that when they, actually
the
think they
fact
don't know.
is, yeah, the fact is like it's not just about the money; it's about the trust again. So that's the real, impact we might be seeing. That's true. And then, what genuinely you feel like, grooming a future leader looks like versus what organization makes for it?
So a good leader will always groom his juniors, because only when you elevate or prepare the juniors will you also get elevated. I have always been a believer that you should, delegate. You should train and delegate your activities so that then you easily can go to, higher up a position whenever the opportunity arises. There's no point holding on to your activities. A good leader will not only mentor, he will push the employee to do more than he can do. He will praise that employee, bring him to the rooms which even the employee has never entered, and take a step back. He will allow the junior to shine, to showcase his talent, to praise him, and allow him to grow. And then what happens many times, what happens when you trust an employee. I'm talking about the other leaders. When they trust the employee to do the work, say particular Mr. X will, whatever activities you give him, he will do. So everything goes to Mr. X, right? But the moment he questions, he asks some, questions about some decision made regarding that project, slowly, silently, that activity will be taken away from him. And this has happened with me. When it was convenient, apart from my regular portfolio, I was given additional one, two, three portfolio because Preeti Singh hai, she will do it, right? And when tough questions were asked, because I also need to be, I need to have conviction in the work that I do. And if there are some questions I need to ask about the project, slowly, quietly, that was taken away from me. And then, the companies, then they sit and wonder, why do good employees leave?
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, so that's something we really have to think about in terms of, the way we really have to grow our juniors, or there is a prominent quote which says leader has to grow the leaders, right? So we have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, and one more important thing I will tell you, sign of a good leader, and I have had those leaders. If some mistake happens by an employee, they will never tell the name of that employee to the management. They will say the mistake has happened from the team, right? They will take that hit from the management, but they will give that cover to their juniors to do the work, make mistakes, and grow. And you won't believe, the juniors will go to war for that kind of leader who has protected them and allowed them the space to grow. So yeah, hats off. I can name them, but I don't want to name. They will always be in my, have a special place in my heart, all those leaders.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we do have such leaders, and then definitely all those leaders are, reminded everywhere. So this is one of the good example what you have given in terms of how leaders should actually lead by, giving that safe environment to the team so that they experiment and then they lead more towards innovation, or they feel safe in terms of any mistake they may encounter. End of the day, it's like, we learn through the mistakes. And then, in fact, there is a Japanese word called golden nuggets. The mistakes or any kind of challenges we face are the golden nuggets which has to be worked together, and more often leaders has to, guide in terms of overcoming them by supporting them. Totally agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Preeti, you clearly were wearing many hats beyond this conversation. Tell us what you're working currently on, and what is keeping you excited right now.
Yeah. So, Sunita, currently I'm leading the training vertical at Meshlings Consulting. So training always has been, my passion. Whether you are a participant as a training program or as a trainer. So that is why I got this opportunity and I'm heading the training vertical. Apart from that, what excites me most is there is a strategic tie-up that Meshlinks has done with Bundle AI. They're into agentic AI, and it is going to be a game changer of how companies are going to actually work across various verticals. I have seen their products and it is amazing. So there is this Arya, which is the agentic AI for accounts receivable, which they have made very useful for the finance teams, where there are millions and millions of uh, maybe dollars of amount uncollected, and so it is not just a reminder tool. Arya is not a reminder tool. It prioritizes, it sends specialized customized mails to your clients to recover the invoices amount, and it also flags if there are any delays which are going to happen before the delay actually happens. So there are due dates for invoices, and they she analyzes and gives that dashboard to the finance head. So it's an amazing kind of agentic AI. This is not going to replace the human. It is just going to help them to do some activities which are very monotonous and very difficult for a finance employee to just follow up for invoices. It is a very boring task. So all these activities will be taken care by Arya, which is very important. So that if there are any CFOs or finance heads listening to this podcast, just go back and reflect on the uncollected amount lying in the books, and if they need help, then we have Arya who can be deployed very easily. Apart from something for the finance team, they have also made a wonderful agentic AI known as Tara. So she's for the heart of the organization, which is HR recruitment. So Tara not only searches for profiles for recruiting, it also does the calling, she will take the interviews as programmed, she will do end to end, and she will be helping the HR team to hire the best, not only not only matching the keywords from the job description, but the full profile of that person. Even the voice and tone of the interview which happens with Tara, that also gets captured to understand whether that that person is actually keen to join a company or no. you know so it has got lot of elements. It will again safeguard or give back the HR, that team, the time that they were spending on scheduling interviews, lining up the candidates. All this will be handled by Tara without even you noticing. So it's a 24 by 7 kind of a system. She works, she never complains. And you also get the best people hired for your organization from across. In real time basis, she will start hunting for profiles wherever they are in the world. You can give your horizon, which location, and you just have to give your job description. Click of a button, done. You can go and sleep. The HR person can go and sleep. Next day he will get the shortlisted candidates. If you want Tara to select, she will select the top 5 for you, and you can do the last mile of onboarding the candidates. So it's a beautiful system developed by Bundle AI, and I'm very hopeful the companies which hire these two agentic AIs will find value in the services.
I totally agree. So we are really seeing how the agentic AI platforms or overall enterprise SaaS models are evolving, across all the different types of industries. Uh, that's built amazingly in terms of building ecosystem to talk all the agents together, meaning like all the workflows are integrated so beautifully that all these mundane tasks are getting automated, and then the efficiency of the workflow has been really enhanced. So rightly said. So it's the very important phase of an digital era where to see all the mundane activities, how we can really automate and then try leveraging these enterprise SaaS models to automate it. But while we are talking about the automation and then, building that productivity by reducing these not value, adding value activities, or maybe helping the team in terms of focusing on the core activities so that they can also be morally boosted. The very important challenges what we are seeing on the evolving of these deep technology is in terms of the cybersecurity issues, or it can be in terms of the ethical AI sometimes. Like, for example, you mentioned a point on saying Tara really identifies in terms of who are those top performance where organization can recruit them, and then it also predicts the sentiments in terms of what is the probability of onboarding or they joining the organization, right? So how it's been built into a model of the workflow to enable those sentiments being captured, and then how ethically we are trying to build that ecosystem of taking the
Uh,
decision.
Yeah. So, Sunita, first, this is not a SaaS kind of a product. So, it is not a software that you are applying. This is the intelligence which you are, integrating with your already system which is available. So, if it is for your finance team, this is an intelligence kind of a layer which you're just adding onto it. There is no person who will be operating this. So, there is no question of training some other employee to deploy this. It is already kind of a ready kind of a thing. You just have to plug it, customize it for your company, and it works. And because it is in your the servers, this rests in your server, the company server, your premises. It is not on our cloud server. And also all the compliances and security aspects are taken care. And when you speak about this sentiment, this has already been used. If you are using a mobile, and if you are just searching for something, you will see automatically you start getting advertisements for those kind of things. So that social listening, that is already there since past few years. So there is no question of this is something new which we are bringing. It is already available. but we are blending it into something for the company to handle their difficult tasks, which are very mundane, which actually a very good employee will get tired of doing those, Excel worksheets, reconciling with your bank, which is a very difficult task. So all these mundane activities, Tara and Arya will take care. They will transform the way that your company runs. See, either we adopt and take these along with our culture, or we become stagnant and we are behind. Okay, because there are other companies who have already done this and they are going far ahead. So we need to learn and work along with these kind of agentic AIs or new kind of things which are coming. You must have also heard about different leaders telling ke, they are going to blend in agentic AIs along with the human. So there is nothing to get scared about, because earlier when we were saying ke, if computers come, people will be laid off, or if some new things will come, people will be laid off. But no, different kind of jobs are getting created. Human brains are there to do some kind of intelligent kind of a work. So we better keep ourselves for those kind of activities, and all this manual work which agentic AI can do, we can give it to them, so that we get more focus on other kind of activities. That is all I can say.
Very true. Truly resonate in terms of, AI is coming in terms of supporting the human ecosystem in terms of focusing on core activities by reducing,
Correct.
non-core or mundane activities, I would say. And so that way it clearly demonstrate in terms of how we can move towards more interesting area, or what we can take beyond what we were actually doing it. But while we are saying it, always AI should be accompanied with the integrity or the human integrity again, right? So AI is just there to support on the decision what humans are actually taking it. But the human integrity plays a very, very important role in terms of having the
Absolutely.
ethical AIs in place. I think that
Yes.
way we are already seeing how the deep technology is evolving across the industry. Take any industry, it's like touching everything now on all the
Yes.
core aspects of it. Truly agree. Yeah. So, as a closing comments, if you could say one thing, just one, to every leaders listening today, what would it be?
I will say, Sunita, your title is not the leadership. Yeah. Your leadership comes from your behavior. So there is everyone watching you, the way you conduct meetings, your town halls, especially when things are not going good, the way you handle the situation, you take care of the junior most person in the organization. So it's very important to understand that we are, when we say, many companies don't say that we are human resources. They say we are, human wealth. It's the biggest asset any company can have. So when we are interacting with humans, we better do it with a humanity, right? And not treat them, as products or machines, because we have emotions. And I have had the opportunity of very very good leaders, who from whom I have learned how to lead with dignity and humanity and get the work done easily. There has never been any department that I have led, that I have faced any maybe some opposition from the juniors, because I have always led with love, humanity, taking them along, showing them, mentoring them, how I was mentored when I had joined all my 3 4 companies that I have worked with. So yes, so please have that heart. It is very important. You are dealing with a human. That's what I can say.
Yeah, it's so true. So it's very important to, manage with dignity and then give the respect to all the emotions. And empathy is one of the important trait, I would say. Along with it, inclusion is another important, aspect
Yes.
which a leader should really imbibe in, to have to safeguard the important assets of an organization. So when I talk in organization, I would always say organization in terms of three dimensions: the people, processes, and the technology. So while the other two are very important, people play a very, very important role in terms of bringing that collaboration and then, achieving the organization results altogether. So any organization, they have to sustain in a long run. So they have to take care of their resources, or people play a very,
Absolutely.
very important role.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Preeti, so much for sharing your insights with such an authenticity. And your voice adds depth to our collective understanding. And I grateful for the wisdom you brought to today's conversation. Thank you so much. To
Thank
our
you so much, Sunita.
listeners, to our listeners, thank you for tuning in and being part of the dialogue. Your curiosity and engagement are what this conversation makes more meaningful. To conclude and further embed, leadership and impact are not just about the position, what Preeti ma'am has said. It's about the courage to mentor. It's the resilience to stand tall, I would say, and empathy to connect, so that we are all working towards one organization to excel with respect to the organization goals or the objectives or whatever the important performance we really want to achieve it. Until next time, keep rewiring your mind for authentic expressions and purposeful actions. Thank you.
Thank you.